Welcome back, everybody, to the Path to LCS Challengers League broadcast. We are already done after watching Golden Guardians Challengers beat up CLG Faith 2-0. And now we're moving on to FlyQuest Challengers going up against Wildcard Gaming, you guys. And this is going to be one that we think should be a little bit more tightly contested, especially considering how strong both these teams have kind of had in recent weeks. FlyQuest, unfortunately, did have a bit of a 5-game losing streak, whereas Wildcard, they went 1-1 against Dignitas yesterday, Nate, and now this should be a little bit of an easier road for Wildcard as we start to look towards the rest of the season.
I couldn't have put it better, Josh. This has been, they've had opposite trajectories so far, and it's very interesting that we get to talk about this matchup because, first of all, FlyQuest Challengers as a team are one of those teams, much like CLG, who made very minimal changes between last year and this year. The big and notable change being Masu when we look at this roster, being a player who is super exciting because he showed up quite literally out of nowhere from solo queue last summer and shocked everybody with how well he was playing and how much potential he had. And so far, he has been a bright spot on this team. And overall, FlyQuest, we've seen a lot of good individual performances, but this is a team who struggle to play as a team.
Yeah, and they're on LA today.
I would love to talk about that a little bit more as well, is because it is going to be a little bit different in regards to what we see from that bottom lane. But from a top side of the map that we saw have so much dominion, I feel like, over Academy last year, and especially with Philip having all that LCS time, I need to see that come to fruition here, and I feel like we have seen a little bit of lacking in that to some extent. So the bar is pretty high for me for FlyQuest Challenge because we know where they've been before.
Yeah, it's definitely been interesting to watch the change that we've seen in particular. I feel as though Philip, I feel like I can say this because I've been such a big fan of his historically. What's going on, man? Like, it has not been good. He's like #1 in getting solo killed throughout this season thus far. And as somebody, like you said, who has had LCS experience, it's not been good at all. But their opponents recently have been insanely popular, as we have, in fact, noticed that Wildcard Gaming, their top laner, recently won the popularity contest, right? Of all the top lane brackets.
Hey,
And
that was for top lane, all right? Not popularity.
It was for top lane. That's fair. We do have... he might win that one, too, honestly, with the way that Moose Hair has been playing lane. But this has definitely been a top side from Wildcard that you have to keep your eyes on.
Honestly, I've just been so impressed. The way they go about drafting, like, you can no longer coast through a draft with meta stuff when you face Wildcard. And I think that's caught a lot of our teams off guard in the Challengers League. And this team as a whole, when you're seeing the kind of way they function and that kind of forward-facing Keel is, and the way that Lens has been playing, the way Soligo has popped off in recent memory, but Moose Hater being that constant threat from the top side, they have so many things to deal with from draft all the way through game that it's really difficult for a lot of the challenger teams to tackle.
Yeah. But now we've talked a lot about the top side, Nate. We have to switch our attention a little bit to the bottom side because, in particular, Masu and Lens have both been very big focal points for their teams in terms of their aggression in laning phase in particular.
And both of these players, I mean, we'll start with Masu too, have made their run through that semi-pro circuit last year when we had the system known as Proving Grounds, and they had impressed us a lot. Masu, I mean, coming from nowhere, being a player who showed such high highs for someone with very, very little competitive experience, and you look over at Lens as well, being that player who came over from TCL, started off in North America with the 100 Thieves Next as a player, and I talk about this all the time because I talked to Mist and Fnatic back when that team was a thing and that run was happening. And they would tell me, and I would follow up with them on what they thought about Lens because he was a player I didn't know very much about. Yeah. And what they told me was they kind of took a gamble on him because they weren't who he was originally looking for. When they lost to Ray, they needed another 80 carry. And he surprised them when I followed up. They've been very happy with his performances, and he's just continuing this upward trajectory. And he's a player that I'm very excited to continue watching because, I mean, even they've been a big part of Wildcard's success. We talk about the top side, but this bot side deserves praise too.
And Lennon, after having seen it, we also have to note that one of the big things about Wildcard is while they tend to draft scaling in the rest of the map, it's the bottom lane that tends to get early game resources with attention as well as some strong early game champions.
Yeah, I think that's where we've seen the bot lane focus comes to such big, I guess, dividends for Wildcard, where you get Keel with these very, very controlling early junglers going into these kinds of paths that lead towards this bottom lane. Even with all the focus you get, you can still capitalize in the moment. So that's where, like, we can talk all day and long about like the way they approach strategy, things like that, but it's also the fact that they're executing on those strategies that stands out the most to me.
Yeah. And one of the things that we've kind of typified with this bottom lane and the rest of the team is, with the exception of the way that the bottom lane picks their champions, they're picking their characters for the way that they actually play it the long game. And so it's been fascinating to watch that this bottom lane with Lens and Duo King are still super, super good at withstanding a lot of pressure, even when Sleego ends up teleporting in late. And Nate, as we kind of look towards the rest of it, I'm kind of curious how you're thinking these two sides of the map are going to shake out with such a strong bottom lane on both sides and a top lane that really is there to play for the later stages.
I mean, realistically, the later stages are where FlyQuest seem to be struggling the most these days. So I got to imagine that is really difficult struggle to have when you're playing against Wildcard, who draft for late game, who play for late game so well, and that being the biggest reason they're at the top of the table right now, in the top 3, in that conversation where we believe they'll make that deep playoffs run. So this is a very difficult matchup for FlyQuest, but you know, if you disagree with me, type FlyC in the chat.
Lennon, thoughts?
I think it is going to be such an interesting weave of kind of differing stories, right? Where you do have such a strength from Wildcard in the later parts of the game, the way that they approach that kind of stuff. And then, as we've seen last year, FlyQuest used to have that when Diamond was on the squad. They've been struggling to find that voice that directs them in the later part of the game, and they're gonna have to step up today, like, because FlyQuest, no doubt, they're on the right side of the bracket. They need to find wins here when we're closing out in the last couple of weeks, and against Wildcard, who are at the top of the table. I think this is a big test for them.
Yeah. And as we kind of start casting our eye towards playoffs, towards the end, again, you kind of have to remember that teams in the middle, you know, it does suck to be on the right half of the bracket, Lennon, but ultimately you're going to be playing against a lot of fairly similar strength teams. And FlyQuest, the biggest thing is they need to make sure that they don't continue to fall down, where they're going to have to play
every win you can get.
Yeah, every win will help out. But look at this. I'm not really surprised at how popular Wildcard has been, especially with some of the players that have been so strong in this league thus far. They even took a tied series going up against Dignitas Challengers yesterday. And also, I just want to give a quick shout out to Alk Battery and everybody who's coming over from the NACL qualifiers that are going on, because they will have an opportunity to see some of these guys potentially up against Wildcard, provided that Wildcard does at least as well in playoffs as they have during the regular season. Hopefully not. But anyway, with all that said, we are ready to jump into the game. Lennon, Nate, it's time to start jumping in for Game 1 of Wildcard versus FlyQuest Challengers.
Thank you so much, Joshi. As we do get into it here, Wildcard will be on the blue side this time around, FlyQuest Challengers on that red side. We were saying a lot of focus goes down in the draft for Wildcard. You cannot disrespect them here, and we're already seeing that respect paid. Lens, Callista taken off the board. We get the Lucian and the Kassadin ban at least coming through here for Wildcard.
And this matchup, it's such an interesting matchup when we talk about like the archetypes of these two teams. Like we talk about opposite trajectories, we talk about opposite strengths and opposite flaws. And I mean, realistically, maybe flaws isn't the right word, because Wildcard in general, what is so good about them, and something a lot of our provisional teams have, but them in particular, they have their identity as a team, and they play for it so very well, and they've been playing it since day one here in the NACL. But you look at FlyQuest Challengers, they lost Diamond, like we were highlighting, a big voice, as we know, and a big contributor in that regard to Dignitas Challenger successes we've been seeing. They're in first place still. And it's been FlyQuest trying to find their identity without Diamond. We know Spyrax has been trying to lead the team and be that voice, and they just haven't figured it out yet.
Well, we do see all of the respect paid. It is the Zach, the Garen to join that
every
Callista.
time.
So FlyQuest, great stuff, at least in the starting points. We do get the Camille, though, targeting up towards that filler matchup, potentially. The Moose Hater lock-in of the Maokai for Keel. And we do get the double combo of the Sejuani and Zeri for FlyQuest Challengers.
Right, a lot of normal stuff that we're seeing so far here, and I imagine with the Callista taken away, Lens goes for something pretty standard as well. Could very easily see the Lucian Nami, but also there are other options that this bot lane for Wildcard have gone for. Very commonly the, what was it? The Ashe, the Ezreal Zyra combination is just really exciting, but it's going to be the Jinx, which is interesting. I mean, Lens was playing at semi-pro last year when Jinx was really popular, and it was the Jinx Aphelios handshake.
Every single game.
Every single game, except a few times.
We even had some times when they went against Zeri, so you know.
When it came out, that's true.
But you know, a lot of bot lane stability right now, especially with that Lulu locked in for Ketong, and that'll be an interesting kind of combination to look into that late game that we've already said is so important. And now we're looking at these solo lanes to try to figure out exactly how they're going to try to take down. We saw Saligo actually popping off in recent memory as well, so maybe a little bit priority given his way in this first phase and take some of those bans off with this Azir picked up for them.
And now you're going to see it's more respect to some of the specialties there for the side of Wildcard. A lot of Blitzcrank mileage coming through for this team, so they just want to make sure that one's not available too. And
get the Zyra ban now as well.
Potentially, because Jinx Zyra, it couldn't be that different look for a double range bot lane. Maybe we see Soraka like we saw in the previous series. There's a lot of options. I mean, most notably, Ashe is still available, and even though Wildcard like to spice things up a little bit, they'll play the strong picks as well.
They will indeed. We do see those strong picks being taken off by Wildcard, though. They take the Jax off. So, again, pinching the champion pool for Philip a little bit in terms of what's strong in the side lane pressure. FlyQuest with this one last respect ban. Where is it going to go? Or do they try to target maybe that Ashe, a little bit of that kind of meta reliance there as well?
Right. Maybe more from Wildcard towards banning the top lane pool is also an option here. Oh, yeah. That's another one that he plays pretty often. So again, it's just more of the respecting those pocket picks that Wildcard like to bring out at almost any given opportunity. And it's going to be lock it in, 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 lock it in.
You're going to be saying that for 19 minutes, 19 seconds. But
come on, Spyrax.
I think when you see a little bit of that kind of give to this top side of the map for FlyQuest Challengers, that is where you do see that strength in the early game for them that we said is semi-strong. So they're relying on late game for Masu Kitong, obviously with the Zeri Lulu, and they're trying to find some aggressive stances with their top side of the map, their mid as well, with the Sylas pick.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's a good answer. It's not a Kali, which is less fun, but it works really well in general. Really good into the later stages of the game, especially with the new Roa changes and everything like that. And also, you get to steal really cool and fun ultimates like the Nature's Grasp. I know every time I see Sylas take that ultimate, it is a crazy one. And wow, so an Enchanter we don't commonly see. I think I've seen it one other time paired with Lucian. I don't remember who played it, but it's the Sona.
Love that Sona pickup. And then the Fiora for Moose Hater. So all eyes on Philip. Is he going to be able to find something to upend this Fiora, or is he just going to be that floodgate that we saw him actually be able to accomplish against Hanser when TSM Challengers went up against FlyQuest Challengers? But I do really wonder how this top side is going to affect us. Again, we said how important the top trio is for FlyQuest, and this would be a pick. I like it. Philip taking the gangplank into Moose Hater's Fiora. And we got the gauntlets down, the fisticuffs and topside.
You got it all across the board. Realistically, you look at FlyQuest comp, late game is definitely a good time for them as well as Wildcard. So it's going to come down to execution at the end of the day. And this is still just going off what we said earlier with Wildcard. They have their identity. They're so comfortable playing as a team, as they even have said to us that they've been playing a little while before their announcement as a provisional team here at NACL. So that synergy is there for them.
And they're also just all friends.
Exactly.
Unfortunately, Masu's the newer piece of the puzzle, but Kitong is actually a good friend of UG Spyrax as well.
Yeah, exactly.
And then obviously Philip, UG, and Spyrax have the power of friendship themselves. They wanted to play together this year. They told FlyQuest that's what they wanted.
And I mean, so far it hasn't been working out maybe as well as they hoped. We already mentioned it in the pregame. They want to get to the left side of our standings, and with that addition of Masu and Kitong, even though Kitong is just subbing right now for Winsome, he's been playing very well, and this bot lane is something to be very excited about.
Well, we're getting into it now. We hit the red for the first time between Wildcard and FlyQuest Challengers. As we do, make sure you're spamming in chat who thinks going to take this win. FlyC for FlyQuest or WC for Wildcard. Right now you got a lot of those Wildcard fans out there, even more so now as well, but should get a decently steady start here. Again, I think you're relying a lot on late game for both teams. We said that's what Wildcard definitely opt into here. They draft for the late game thinking, and here they will just need to try to figure out a way to deal with the top side map, while FlyQuest are looking a little bit of the same. It's that interweaving of kind of different trajectories we were talking about earlier.
UG, and I mean both junglers, but UG in particular is someone I'm looking at here in this jungle matchup, because Maokai can have that impact early on into the game in those early levels, but Sejuani is so good at this stage of the game and post 6 as well. And UG being that player for FlyQuest, where it's true, Spyrax mid to late game is trying to be more of that leader for the team of FlyQuest Challengers. in the early game, the decision making is there for Yuji. He makes a lot of calls and a lot of decisions, and they need to hit the ground running on FlyQuest Challengers side.
And Yuji's been a project in development. I mean, he was even one of our runner-up MVPs in this last year as well, and getting to kind of see a little bit more from him in terms of his own direction and the way that he's been going about things, while not always steady, not always that same kind of calmness that you got when Diamond was directing him last year to some extent. You're still seeing those kind of own shades of his play. And I'm very excited now against this matchup. And Keel, who has been just a standout jungler since last year on AoE GT, we get this kind of duality here between the two that I find very fun. And man, those Wildcard fans sure are out in abundance here, Beatdown.
That's right. I mean, very popular team, but also one of the top ones we have. So not surprising that those two factors give them all the support that we're seeing here. And I mean, you talk about Wildcard and how well Keel in particular has been playing. As long as I've seen him in this scene, it has been a sight to behold as Yuji. Saplings are so cool. You don't even need wards.
You don't even need to be in the vicinity. You don't even have to be anywhere nearby. You just show yourself there with the sapling, and Yuji will have to be pathing towards the bot side, and a little bit of knowledge gained by Wildcard that I'm sure Keel will put to good use.
And again, just to continue the point on Keel, where he's that player, even when he was on his time for, I believe it was CLG Academy, when it was still known as the Academy system. He was a good player, and there was a lot of surprise when he was no longer part of that roster. But he did his diligence. He grinded through the trenches. That was semi-pro last year, and although he's still on a provisional team, he is here now in the NACL, and he's taking it to most of these teams who he wants to be on. We're saying, like, all right, don't sign me. I will just join Wildcard and beat you all.
That's something for Wildcard that resonates so heavily with like the competitor inside me, and I'm sure in a lot of people, is just they are confident, and you know, obviously when they aren't winning, they lose a little bit of that confidence, but we see it more than not, and I love that about these players. They are just confident in their own right, and they know that they have what it takes to try to bring this 5 squad to something that is meaningful here, right? And where Keel got so close, right? We got so many of these pieces get so close to, and they honestly, they did make history in Proving Grounds, but here we see actually a little bit of a fight here between Yuji. Yuji forced to flash early on.
Your mid laner, not in the area, had to recall. You know that is your only recourse, especially with that Q out of the picture. Nice catch out from Keel. And already we're seeing a lot of these very small early game advantages come through for Wildcard. I mean, you see that knowledge protecting Saligo in that mid lane with the sapling earlier. You see Keel forcing Yuji to flash, lowering the impact he's going to be able to have early on in these few minutes, and that still just continuously benefits Wildcard, who play for late and who do it so very well.
Yeah, we said coming into this one, it was all about drafting for Wildcard, and they always draft for late, and they execute on those more than not. I mean, they're 15-5 for a reason, and it's FlyQuest who are usually looking for those early advantages and struggle to close out those later parts of the game. Now we see Yuji's with a response to the gank from Keel. Just be a back and forth. Mutator taking a decent chunk out on the back end of it, and Yuji should help just crash this wave in here as Keel right here, just in case things get a little bit dicey.
Yeah, just in case the dive comes through here, but it's really just going to be the recall for Philip. An opportunity where it might be able to recall, walk his way back to the lane. But so far, not the most amount of action for either of these teams. Nobody even really looking at that first dragon at this point. My eyes are on the Rift Herald, though. Just under 3 minutes away. How are these teams going to be setting up for it here? Who's going to roam? How hard are you going to commit? That's the setup I'm looking for. If it's just exclusively top side of the map, I'm talking mid to top side, I favor Wildcard just a little bit more because of the team fight tools they have on that side.
And it's about using those team fight tools as well. So we'll keep an eye on how that kind of late game condition goes out. But now I'm looking back at some of that proactivity we want to see from Yuji. Right now we're getting some pings down with a potential roam from Kitong. I think that would be a nice little combo to have and try to take some aggression into Keel, who is just fine kind of farming this up as this Maokai who just gets instant control over any objective he wants to have if he's in the area. We do see this path though leading to some vision game paced down by Yuji and FlyQuest.
You see the push coming through here from Masu and Kitong, meaning FlyQuest. You have that opportunity to make that move after Masu and Keetong push this next wave to go ahead and start up this next dragon. But the hesitancy is there. Spyrax moved with Yuji, but Spyrax is just moving back to answer that mid wave. So it's again, no neutral objective taken. And with Herald a minute away, I'm imagining both these teams are looking to set up for it.
See if that does become the case. I would want to see some early moves as well as from the bot lane, at least from Keetong, maybe even Duo King. But I think Lens and Duo King are more fine sticking lane. It would be more Keetong I'd want to see as Masu going for aggression on the Lens, and that's what you like to see from this very, very interesting development of a bot lane. We called them the new hotness.
That's right.
For FlyQuest challengers, as Masu and Keetong really finding their own here in a league that is so vast.
Have been, especially for Keetong, who again is the sub for Winsome, but has performed admirably. He's been a really good player overall in this bottom lane, and it's making it one of the more exciting bottom lanes. That is why, like you said, we call it the hotness.
They are a little bit hot right now. Duo King forced the flash. The cannon barrage. First blood for that new hotness.
Okay.
Back to back. FlyQuest challengers. They are here in the bot lane to stay. And Yuji, that should just be turning onto the dragon, unless that reset means not.
Health bars too low. You don't want to be doing that one by yourself. Get caught out, getting stolen. But a great play there from the bot lane of FlyQuest challengers. This is what we're talking about here. Good hands, good team fighting, and they managed to get that first blood. Now they get the lead that will ideally have Masu be that late game carry over Lens. And we're going to see it here. Duo King looking to go for the ward, but the blast cone, it was just, honestly, the timing was just unlucky. I'm going to keep a 100 with you, Lennon. And the other thing, too, is what I keep talking about why I like Gangplank is that cannon barrage. Being able to help from across the map, that has an impact.
I needed the impact from the top trio, and Philip helps out in the bot lane somehow, some way. You get a nice little lead for the bot side of FlyQuest challengers. Now this will be a trade of objectives. Keel gets the dragon, while Yuji gets the Rift Herald. To be a reset on both sides as we come back out on the map. A little bit of pushing from Wildcard's bottom lane here, trying to get some of these plates down where this aggression should be there for the Jinx Sona early on, and try to get as much gold as they can in a lane that definitely Masu and Keetong will be looking to get out of.
And that's why I like that they just immediately recall on the side of FlyQuest, and Yuji goes straight for that Rift Herald. This trade benefits them because they can, Rift Herald is the best way to just get that ball rolling here. You drop that Herald on the top side, especially off a successful dive. Just a reminder, Duo King still doesn't have flash, and that is a lot of turret plates and a lot of gold you can put into your bot lane and just continue having them get further and further ahead of the game so that they can run away with it.
Now, level 6s have been achieved for this bottom lane. I want to see if Duo King can try to set up a big combo with those chompers and the crescendo. We'll see if it does end up in anything, as now Yuji hovering on this bottom side of the map or the mid lane. Want to see if he can wrap back around with that Glacial Prison onto Saligo. Saligo does have flash, so getting that would be huge. Maybe they even get a little bit of pressure on the tower, get Spyrax some of this gold with the Rift Herald. Wait! Push back with his own ulti. They do get the separation and nice shifting sands from Saligo, showing that expertise on his most played champion on the Azir. Now we got Keel with a beautiful gank bot side. Tries to flash for the Bramble Smash. He tried to get too many cookies there. He got caught with his hand in the cookie jar.
Well said, Lennon. He tried to get too much. Had he focused on Keetong, that would have been a guaranteed kill. You do get Summoner, so you can try again in the coming minutes. But ultimately, we just got neutral across the board. And though, okay, Yuji will be able to secure it. I gotta say, that play... Oh, wait a second. Okay.
Little cannon barrage, little cheeky stuff from Philip.
I just want to say, I hope we get a replay of that mid play because Spyrax. Woo! That was quick.
Preemptively, I love it.
Like, the way he dashed in with that second E and at the same time stole the Azir ulti. It was too quick for Saligo to realize that a play was being made onto him. And it was really nicely done, even though the play didn't work.
Ooh, Moose Hater right back. Gets Phillips flash in top side. So that's actually a pretty big flash to have down when Moose Hater will be pushing in that lane. We do see Yuji and Keetong back onto the map here, though. Some communication in effort. Rift Herald still in tow, about halfway done. Needs to be dropped here soon-ish. And actually see them hovering down towards bot side and mid, as well as no attention to top side just yet.
Yeah, look at the vision that Keaton's placed down on that bottom side. Very deep, at perfect triangle to just have an idea of basically, you know where everyone is if they walk towards this bottom side of the map here. There's just those small pockets of darkness, but ultimately it sets up for an idea of where Keel's going to be in the coming minutes when he walks towards that bottom side of the map. And it means you still have that option for Yuji now that Masu has reset and spent his gold to make a play on that bot side. I even see the pings coming through here, coming towards that bottom side of the map. Could be a lane gank, whatever the case may be. That Herald is going to expire, and bot lane is the best place to use it.
Amy waiting over the bush, gets the control ward over, does spot him out there. So just clear this one out, wait for the wave to get pushed in. And actually getting a little bit of ping since the resets came out from both sides in mid lane. TPs utilized by both Spyrax and Soligo. And spotted out on the way here, though, was Yuji. But that Rift Herald coming down very, very soon. He's just going to force the play mid.
There's going to be something, but plates unless Spyrax... Oh, wait.
Oh, going back in, though. Here comes Keel, though. Spyrax maybe a little bit overextended. The Nature's Grass comes out. They got what they came for. It was a little bit spicy, but they got what they came for, getting another charge.
You know what? Spyrax managed to get some of the plate gold, too, which is nice. You can see the aggression coming through here because now you can push this wave in and walk and set up yourselves for the next Drake. Spyrax doesn't need to back. Yeah, okay, maybe now he might need to with the sapling, but
that's a big sapling. Oh my god, the aliens are attacking.
Okay, I think I found the new scariest sapling. I don't like that.
Oh, those are cute. Come on.
Just the shape is so unsettling. I don't like that. Look at it.
He's holding it in his hand. Look at that. That's adorable.
No,
that is not as scary as a walking Christmas present with like yellow eyes and sharp teeth.
Look, man, I don't need Alien meets Teletubby right now, and I don't think anyone else does either.
Well, that might be a little bit more terrifying.
Easy.
Teletubby overlords, we bow to you. As the Dragon's coming up on the board here now. We do see a lot of presence there by FlyQuest, but Keel right around the corner trying to clear out some of this vision. Dragon already started by FlyQuest.
Wildcard, they have a lot of key ultimates to be able to make this engage. This could be that 50-50, and Keel's not playing Nunu, but he's won these 50-50s before, and he wants to try again.
Nature's Grasp is coming out. They're going in.
Oh!
Keel does get that steal, but here comes the Cannon Barrage, and they will just sacrifice Keel's life within FlyQuest Challengers ranks. Should go over to Masu. It does indeed. Philip in topside, though, fighting on to Moose Hater. Has him a little bit cornered. Tries to get that trio, though. Nice riposte. And the Grand Challenge issue does mean both of them would back off.
I mean, Philip, I think he's feeling it. If that play... No, okay, everyone's just going to walk away. It was a nice little bit of sparring up in the top side. Nobody goes down just yet. But this is more of what we wanted to see from Philip. I mean, Josh talked about it when we were in pregame. He was the biggest Philip fan, and that is something I clearly remember when he was talking about it a lot, and this year has been a tough one for him.
Has indeed. But I love to see the kind of confidence still take this gameplay here, have a lot of influence around the map without needing to be visited by his team as well. And as we get back onto the map, I do want to check in. We have some item completions here. Obviously, the shield bow completed for Masu, as well as the Kraken Slayer for Lens. Those are two big ones. But the Roa already started stacking here for Spyrax, already on this 2 stack. So getting that early little bit of, I guess, advantage in that aspect of it. Trying to stack up with this vegetarian build to match a little bit of that scaling power with Wildcard.
What do you mean by vegetarian build? I'm so curious.
Isn't that what it's called? The Roa Silas is called like the vegetarian build because you're not going like a straight damage item or whatever.
I didn't know that.
You're
but
supposed
that's
to
kind
know
of
this. I'm just a play-by-play.
Hey, I'm supposed to know. Hey, I'm supposed to know numbers and cool interactions.
Oh, those are scary.
I don't know
those
the random community stuff people say.
Ooh, Spyrax though. Feeling some side lane pressure there. We got Yuji taking another Rift Herald for FlyQuest during that as well, and looking maybe to use it pretty quickly to take down the first tower.
Certainly an option, especially with all the dive potential from FlyQuest composition. You're gonna see Soligo do a little bit of hitting on that bottom turret, but Philip will answer him soon. Everyone's kind of going back to their sides of the map here, but it's on Yuji, like you highlighted. Has the Rift Herald. Where is he going to drop it? Really came down to the wire with the first one, hoping he manages to be a little more proactive with this one. You have your mid laner here, or rather, you have your bot lane in the mid lane here, and I think after this Raptor camp, Yuji is going to be looking to help them out.
The TP back in the top side from Philip, no longer having that TP advantage, but I do want to see you now with this movement kind of towards this mid lane if FlyQuest want to try to dump this gold into Masu's pocket with the first tower. Should be the call here as it does get dropped.
And that's going to be first turret gold over to Masu. Of course, Yuji will get a share. They're dropping the Rift Herald unless... Did Masu get any of that
gold? I could not
gold?
see if he got the gold because he was walking off screen. I think he was out of range, but
yeah.
You never know. You never know. Maybe we did. Yes, okay, it looks like he did get that. So a little bit of extra gold there, at least given over. He does get a BF sword there, so nicely done. He will be looking, I guess, for that second item, i.e. on the Zeri, while Philip gets a little bit poked from Sligo.
This is the interesting lane assignment coming through here. It's going to be Spyrax for the most part, who's been matching Moose Hater. And as the game goes on, that's going to change, or at least it should, because Philip is likely going to be the one to best answer the Fiora. So it's likely Wildcard trying to create these situations so you can get a little more favored.
Ooh, Moose Hater under tower here. Spyrax trying to defend, but Moose Hater gets the turret. The cannon barrage back. The grand challenge being picked apart here, but Moose Hater, he doesn't have the health bar to take down Spyrax.
Oh!
He does, though. He's trying to take out this one. He gets a little bit of healing. He's making some sweet moves here, but he will be eventually burned down by Yuji with that Cindy. And that is a nice little pickup in the side lane for FlyQuest, while a tower and top side has fallen.
Lennon, I'm just going to say it. Moose Hater wins that 1v1, but of course, Yuji had to save his mid laner here.
Iron team beatdown.
There is if you squint and then imagine an eye where it's not supposed to be. And Wildcard have not done that. They actually spell team correctly. Wait, no. Actually, my whole analogy is ruined. It doesn't matter. Never mind. We're scrapping it. We're scrapping it. We're scrapping it. You know what happened? The dragon setup is what's happening now. 20 seconds away from the dragon. Wildcard. This is going to be their third one. Soul point. Keel stole the second one. Doesn't have the setup for the third one. So could we just see another heist?
I would like to check in on some of the items here before we do get into this fight. I mean, obviously, FlyQuest are coming here to start this one up, and a little bit of contest from Keel. But I think FlyQuest definitely are in a setup position with this 5-on-5. They don't have the cannon barrage, they don't have the Glacier Prison, but you are looking at a lot of tools from their bottom side of the map. See, nice little barrels there early on onto Duo King. Dragon getting oh so low. Kill has used the Nature's Grass. It's utilized back by Spyrax. Here comes Yuji, though, on the backside. Moose Hater has found the flank, and you always got to be careful about those wild meese as they got Keel over the side with the Nature's, or the Bramble Smash 2 coming through here now. Now Moose Hater, he's found one. He's found two. He can't find the third. Masu guns him down as he'll find a killing spree, but that's Wildcard's third dragon.
This is what we keep talking about with Wildcard Gaming. The ability to team fight and the comfort they have playing together has found them out of so many situations time and time again. They're down 2,000 gold. It was less before this fight went down, and they managed to make it happen. And we'll see it in the replay if we get one, but this is their sole point. And this is where Wildcard is comfortable. They're going to play for this late game. That soul, well, that looked funny. The soul in these next couple of minutes is where they have their eyes, and another team fight like that could also net them the Baron, and that could be their way to really get back into this one, get more gold into their pockets.
Yeah, the scaling advantage is working out for a scaling team if they continue to get these dragons up as well. We'll take a look back at that fight, and especially that Moose Hater flank that devolved FlyQuest Challengers into chaos.
And this is where it happens. You have pressure Masu, you force him to E so far away from the fight, and those are several precious seconds where your fed 80 carry is not participating, not putting out any damage. And at that point, yeah, sure, you get Moose Hater, who almost, I mean, still went crazy mode, but almost went super crazy mode. You just don't have it in you to finish that fight.
Well, we're back onto the map. FlyQuest Challengers looking at top side. They want to break down this tier 3 tower, as it should be just easily done by Spyrax. Back onto the bottom side, though, you see that it is a response from Philip down there. He has the cannon barrage now, so we're looking to see if any crazy plays come out with these 4-on-4s where Philip can get that advantage before Moose Hater can get involved. But Moose Hater will have that strength. He's just continuously pushing here in the side of the lane. And I think, especially with these next steps for FlyQuest, you're still begging that question, can they turn those late game antics into something that's winnable for them? Because that has not been their strength in recency.
Not at all this split. And again, we have that interview from Spyrax where he talked about that exact struggle that they've been working through, especially with the fact that they're trying to figure out the call structure, the leadership structure for this team. And as time goes on, Spyrax says that he has been feeling better about it. And that's the hope that this trend continues, so that these individual players who on paper do look quite good, especially the new hotness in Masu Kitong in the bot lane, can really come together and play more cohesively.
And we started to see that with the early roams from Kitong as well, and seeing some of that cohesion really come to life. But they have a small advantage against a very, very stacked late game comp and team against Wildcard, and it's going to be about execution once they get a little bit further here. Glacial Prison comes through. You have flanks coming
Teleport.
out. Spyrax TP'd. Philip has TP. Nature's Grasp has already come out. Masu.
Spyrax!
Pushed back by Spyrax and delivered to Masu's hungry mouth. As they will get Spyrax in return. Moose Haters popping off of the back line, but Philip
look at Lens.
the rest of them are able to survive. No, Kitong gets a rocket to the back. And double kill for Lens. Wildcard take a 4 for 3.
And it's just unreal. Wildcard can two-man the Baron. They barely come out on top, but it's enough for them to continue to catch up in this game. Philip has got to be the hero here. No flash on Lens, so you can do a lot of damage if you play it right.
A little bit of barrel action here could be possible.
Okay,
Keel realizes what could happen. As they are still doing it. 4,000 health down. Philip just looking for his angle here. TP's coming in. He doesn't see that one, as he will just back out. Not going to try to give his life for it. So Ligo going for the kill. He didn't see him come in, and Philip goes down.
Damn. That's it. Wildcard. They've caught up. The lead is small, but they've turned this early game around in their favor, and they are in the comfort zone. This is what they draft for. This is what they play for. And now FlyQuest find themselves in a very difficult position because you are going to lose more structures with this Baron buff that is available here to Wildcard. And it all starts off with this play here. And you see it. The big thing to watch with these front-to-back compositions is 80 carry health. Masu versus Lens. And we're actually going to come back because we're going to
Yuji's been here for a long time, since before we went into the replay. They have found a Nature's Grasp, but Yuji's getting just chunked by Lens, and now Moose Haters found another flank. They walk wide into a sapling, and this is setting up for a catastrophe as Kitong sacrifices his life, the martyr of FlyQuest.
I respect that call from FlyQuest, but in these positions where you're already poised to lose so much, failed fights cost you so much more. And that's just more gold that's going to go over into Wildcard's pockets, and oh, Lord, they're going to keep looking.
It's a nice little blast cone. They've got the rest of Wildcard right here on the bottom side of the map, taking in this mid tower at least. Moose Hater buying a lot of pressure here, and no response to defend that tower. Goes down. That's a dragon on the table as well. Soligo's taking another tower. Wildcard are exploding this game.
And they were down 3K before the fight that got them the Baron started. And now they're up 4,000 gold. They have the Dragon Soul in their pocket. And this in a couple of minutes. Everything FlyQuest worked for in the early game is out the window. Gone. Doesn't matter anymore.
Say the saving grace for FlyQuest would be this 5-1 Masu, but it's difficult to find these fights when you're just consistently getting picked off every single time. And Lens has completed that third item here as well. That IE on Jinx third item, huge damage potential now coming through as well. Nothing on the map to fight over just now, but expect there to be a lot to say when Wildcard come to the next team fight here. And the clock has been ticking. FlyQuest, they have not answered in time.
Soul off the map in Wildcard's pocket means that now we have Elder in 5 minutes. But the objective I'm looking at now is the Baron. 3.5 minutes away, and why you saw FlyQuest do so much to push in that top wave and then reset to answer bottom side. The thing that's going to be tough is you're going to have Soligo, of course, continuously pushing this wave with what little Baron buff is available. FlyQuest need more, and a pick onto someone like Moose Hater would be how you do it, but that overload leaves other parts of the map open, like mid.
God, Lens does so much damage with just one rocket there as well. Got to see a lot of focus towards Moose Hater there, maybe trying to get him to overextend, but don't find it. Now the push in the top side should be an easy crash into the tower here for Wildcard, and there's no defense from FlyQuest. They're going to have to reposition for this one. By the time they get there, tower's already going to be chunked.
Right, Spyrax still holding on to that crescendo. Is okay. He is going to get it out.
Down. All right, Nature's Wrath came out from Keel just on the other side. Make sure it still connects on the Spyrax there as well. Cannon Barrage also used by Philip.
A lot of ultimates to just buy time, but you're really just delaying the inevitable. This turret's going to go down regardless, and that's more gold into Wildcard's pocket. And what matters too is you see all this vision on that bottom side of the map. That's FlyQuest trying to maintain some semblance of control over their bottom jungle. And oh, wait a second.
UG can't find the right angle there. He just goes on to kill. You got Masu there with a decent amount of damage, but you don't have the cannon barrage to back it up. And the saplings doing so much work on the backline when they try to retreat.
And retreat they must, because that play ends up not really netting them much of anything. They're trying, Lennon, so hard, but they also have Moose Hater going for split on the other side of the map. This is a very strong Fiora that's also going to demand multiple members. And this is the waiting game at this point. FlyQuest are the ones who are on the clock, who have the onus to be making something happen. Otherwise, they are just going to lose this game and bleed out, because now Baron's a minute 30 out. All this vision bot side is very nice and cool. And that's all fun and games, Lennon, but what about the top side? There's nothing there.
So one thing for me has been that this is literally 2 game plan for Wildcard. They drafted a comp. We've said from the very beginning of this, they are a late game center drafting style composition focused team. And I think that we get what we see, I guess. And I think they've been able to execute when they do get these compositions so well. And it wasn't for the lack of trying of FlyQuest to get an early lead and try to get that advantage in the later part of the game. But it was about the calm focus on Dragons early, knowing that they can play a little bit safer, not play as crazy, and just capitalize on punishments of FlyQuest. And they're doing just well with it.
Doing exceptionally well. It has just been a treat. All split, watching Wildcard be not only the best provisional team we have, but one of the best teams in the league. The fact that they split with Dignitas Challengers yesterday, a team who we're all saying is the top of the table, the best team in the league in this regular split, is an incredible thing to see.
That is a 3rd item completed for Moose Hater. He has the Hull Breaker now. As actually a little wraparound from FlyQuest. Spyrax gets the grand challenge. He'll be fighting him back, but Moose Hater's got the bigger challenge here. He does get the proc. Both of them do. Moose Hater trying to take a 1v2 here and actually able to survive a little bit.
Look
while
what's
his
happening
team's just
topside.
taking the Baron.
That's right. You draw 2 people. Yes, they both have teleport, but there's so much health that they lost and need to regain. The cannon barrage will be able to force them off of it, but they could just jump right back on.
There's a TP coming in now as well from Spyrax, trying to rejoin the team. Another one coming in from Philip now as well.
Now or never.
Yuji walked into a sapling there, and Keel able to just get so much back pressure with those saplings. They're still holding this. He's tanking it so well with the Hex Dragon, and they just have to force it. Yuji going over the wall. He flashes immediately out. There's so much chaos right now for FlyQuest. They are running rampant while their base is under destruction. They try to get one back, but they don't get anything back. It's catastrophe. And a triple kill for Soligo. A base-ending push for Moose Hater and Wildcard. They're just damn good.
4 versus 5. They didn't even need their top laner to win that fight. Wildcard continuously remind us why they're top of the table here in game 1.
They are no joke. They pick a comp, they execute it. They say, you don't have the stuff to take it to us. And that is Wildcard making another statement. They will rise up to 16-5. And when every win matters, that top of the table is looking mighty spicy here. That is it from our first game of the second series, though. We're going to take a little break. When we come back, get a halftime show from Joshi.